Talking about templates, this is not something to be proud of. They say a uniform is more than a piece of clothing. It represents honor. When you put it on, you should feel proud, especially if it bears your country's flag. But what if that uniform sports the logo of a brand from China, the same China that constantly undermines the security, the autonomy, and the economic interests of your country? This is a conundrum that India faces today, and we need to address it. As you may be aware, India is sending a 190-member-strong contingent to participate in the Tokyo Olympics. The athletes will take part in 12 different sports. They're expected to return with at least 10 medals. That is the hope. On Thursday, the 3rd of June, their official kits were unveiled. It was a grand event. All contingents heading to Tokyo were present. The president of the Indian Olympics Association was also there. So was the Union Sports Minister Kiren Rijiju. But what's making headlines is the sponsor of these kits, Li-Ning, a Chinese sportswear brand headquartered in Beijing. It's the official apparel partner of Team India. This Chinese brand will supply all sporting attire from the playing kits to the travel kits. Now, we did some research and found that this deal was signed in May 2018. This was way before tensions between India and China escalated. But after Chinese provocations in Ladakh last year, there were reports that the IOA, Indian Olympics Association, might suspend the deal. This was after a public backlash against Chinese products and investments. This was in July 2020. We are in June 2021. Forget suspending. Turns out the deal has not even been reviewed. Li-Ning's logo has been imprinted in bold on the kits of Indian Olympic athletes. Many in India are disappointed. In fact, that would be an understatement to say that they are disappointed. Some are asking, why weren't Indian brands given a chance instead? Some say that this decision will undermine India's soft power at the Games. And some are pointing out at how this decision is not in line with India's strategy. And this anger does not seem manufactured or misplaced. There's merit in these arguments because we simply cannot seem to decide if Chinese investments and sponsorships are more important than national security and sovereignty. Let's rewind a little. Around the same time last year, 20 Indian soldiers laid down their lives fighting PLA troops in the Galwan Valley. Indians from all walks of life put their differences aside and came together to teach China a lesson. We said no to Chinese products. We boycotted Chinese brands. The government did its bit. India weaponized its market, curbed the flow of Chinese cash into the Indian economy, and permanently banned some Chinese apps. We were talking and acting tough, only to accept a Chinese brand as a sponsor of the biggest cricket tournament in India, the Indian Premier League. The BCCI first refused to end the title sponsorship. It took several calls of boycott for this deal to be revoked. And now we are back to square one, letting a Chinese brand sponsor Indian kits for the biggest sporting event in the world. The question is why? Do we not have alternatives in India? Yes, we do. There are several homegrown brands that have a stellar reputation globally. Costco Sports, Nivea, Taika, Pirana and Shiv Naresh, whose jacket was worn by Abhinav Bindra as he stood with a golden medal at the podium of the 2008 Beijing Olympics. I'm sure there are many worthy contenders. India is spoiled for choices, but it chooses a Chinese sponsor. And why just India? The whole world keeps falling back into this dangerous rut of Chinese supplies and sponsorships. Last year, the world was rethinking its over-dependence on China. We made tall promises of diversifying supply chain networks. A few companies moved out, some opted for alternatives, and that's it. China's prominence as a global manufacturing hub remains intact, pandemic or not. The figures tell you the story. China's exports surged 32.3% in April this year, valuing $264.9 billion. This was a 60% rise from the first 2 months of 2021. Exports to the United States rose 30.8% to $42 billion. So much for a trade war and rhetorical precedents. What happened to making China pay for this pandemic? What happened to isolating Beijing for its diplomatic threats, for its incursions in the South China Sea, for its clampdown in Hong Kong, for its persecution of Uyghur Muslims? The answer, unfortunately, is written in bold in Chinese-sponsored jerseys. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.